Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Place Your Trades Network. I am coming to you live again from the Place Your Trades Network. I have Penny Lane Blaine with me this morning. I'm so pumped to be on a show with you finally, Penny. But today we're going to be talking about how to trade these markets after the CPI move. We've got kind of a fun, sad, but kind of a great story to talk about as well, just from separate news. So that's kind of what we have for you today. As always, our podcast is brought to you by Tradeovate. They've built an amazing custom app dedicated just to trading these event contracts. That's what we're all using here at the Place Your Trades Network. I know Penny and I are kind of in the small account challenge going head to head here. The rivalry is strong, and we're both using, obviously, that Tradeovate app to trade these. If you guys are interested in following along with us, there is a link in chat that you can start using this Tradeovate app for free. You can follow along with our trades or make your own picks. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm with YouTube, not only here on YouTube, but please help us out on Twitter, Instagram, and all of that good stuff as well. Set notifications so you never miss another podcast. We are coming to you guys from the Place Your Trades Network 5 days a week in the morning, and then we've got J&J on Sunday. So just a great lineup, and we just appreciate the support, guys. Penny, how's it feel to be you this
Fleri.
morning?
Happy Monday.
Yeah, shot out of a cannon Monday. We got our first snow of the year here, of many to come here. I'm in Minnesota, so icy roads. Everybody forgets how to drive. So getting the kids to school this morning was it was an adventure.
Did you have to do any like shoveling of the driveway?
Oh, I boycott shoveling completely. Okay. So either somebody shows up in a truck and scrapes it out if it's enough, or we just drive right over it.
Fantastic.
Sidewalk. Sidewalk and porch we'll own, but someone else is doing the rest.
I've lived in Georgia my whole life, so shoveling snow is a bit of a foreign concept to me. So I got in my car this morning to go to the gym, and it was 34, and I was like, had on a full winter coat, hat, my leggings, my big boots. It was cold. But speaking of going to the gym, you know, they have all the bikes that I was doing, and they've got all the TVs going up. So I like to kind of get what's going on in the world. And this morning, I heard about this man. His name's Sir Alfred. He lived in Charles de Gaulle, the Paris airport, for 18 years. He was kind of a media darling. And they made the film The Terminal in 2004, starring Tom Hanks about him. Have you seen that movie?
I have. It's a great movie. I'm a big Tom Hanks fan in general, but yeah, that's a great movie. And I think it's just kind of it's such an interesting story too. I mean, obviously that's why it makes a good movie, but yeah, I mean, he lived there on and off for, 50 plus years.
Since 1988.
Wow. And it was like all a passport mix up or something like that. Like he was like a man without a country kind of thing or something like that.
Yeah, he got expelled from a couple countries. So he was there in asylum. And then finally he got granted citizenship, I guess, into France. And he decided to like continue on living in the airport until finally he had to be hospitalized. And after he was hospitalized, he lived in a hostel for a little while, and I guess the last couple of weeks he wasn't feeling very good. So he moved right back into his home at the airport, and he died there of cardiac arrest. Interestingly, carrying thousands of euros in his pocket. So, I mean, I guess you got to carry them somewhere, and but as they say, you can't take them with you. Alex, I've got a picture here of Sir Charles right here on his bench. If you want to pull that up, just living at the airport. There he is. That's the best picture I've got. So, Fleri, couple of questions. If you were living at the airport for an extended period of time, would you want to stay on one bench in one terminal, or would you kind of float? Do like one terminal today, one terminal tomorrow?
Oh, I'd definitely be floating. I spent a lot of time in airports in my previous career, traveling around the country to different cafes and kitchens and things like that. So I have some fair amount of experience with airports. So there's a couple of key things that I think that you'd need to be successful. First one is a Dunkin' Donuts. You got to have Dunkin' Donuts to start your day. And I think you probably have to befriend or navigate getting into one of these clubs, whether it's like the Delta Sky Club or something, because they've got showers in there, all of that good stuff. So
Well,
I
look
think
at all
that
the
would be key, but you
stuff
gotta you
he
you gotta move
has.
around, right? Like you'd have to have like a place, like it's something to do. So yeah, maybe you pick up like a little volunteer job or something. I don't know. You
Sure, sure.
help out the
Tell
TSA, get the lines moving.
fortunes. Oh no, just like a little side hustle.
Yeah.
Alex, you can go ahead and close that window. I think we got a good look at him. Yeah, I think I would have to move. I'd probably want to walk the whole airport every day. But like we saw in that
Oh
picture,
yeah, you
he
need some
has so
version of
many
exercise.
things. I guess you just get a luggage cart and you're like off to the races. I don't know. I don't know.
Buy a
It,
suitcase somewhere.
it's so interesting you said Dunkin' Donuts. I went to college for the first 2 years at Boston University. And I think there's like a division between the South and the North on Dunkin' Donuts because down here we have Krispy Kreme.
Mm,
It's like a cult classic, right? The donuts are hot, they're sugary.
fresh hot light. Yep.
They got the hot light. It's like everybody wants that. And when I got up north, they only had Dunkin' Donuts. And I went in there, I'm like, what is this? It's like cold
Good
and it's not
munchkins,
melting.
good coffee.
They do have a great breakfast sandwich. So,
I drink Dunkin' coffee every morning.
oh,
It's a must have.
are you a Keurig guy or a drip guy?
I think it's like a ninja one where you put the beans in and then it just kind of does the whole thing. It's almost like
Best of both
Keurig
worlds.
meets its own grinder. It's nice.
All right. Well, last week after CPI, we had quite a bullish week in the markets. And Friday, I feel like we were kind of range bound. So, what are you thinking going into this week?
I think it's going to be tough to see. Today's auction will be very important to decide whether or not we are going to continue this sort of sequence of imbalance. We're coming from a pretty large accumulation zone, and the breakout from that zone is still pretty mute. It definitely happened. I would say that we very clearly put in a higher low and took out very key swing highs in some of the major indexes. So ES and NQ. Took out weekly, daily, already on 4-hour and 3-hour swing highs. Here, I can get that for you. Already on 4-hour, lower time frame swing highs. So we're at that point where the trend has, clearly shifted. We are outside of this accumulation zone that is relatively large, which, again, coming out of like a multi-month bear market is probably to be expected. We just don't usually V bottom out of these type of things. So if this was at least a short-term bottom, I think we've seen some of the structure that you would want to see on this breakout. If you go back and look at June, it looks very similar to this. And when we broke out of this area, we didn't just break out of it by like 50, 100 points. It was a pretty strong continuation day coming into that, if not a sequence of them. Then we came back and back tested these areas. So I would out of the gates today probably be leaning more into a little bit more of that imbalance. We did come again from like, however you're looking at it, you could call it 5 to like 8 days of balance in some way, shape, or form. And typically you see a pretty close to congruent sequence of imbalance. So we've only seen about 4 days of imbalance on these breakouts from CPI and so on. So, I would be looking for some version of a little bit more continuation. But I definitely think that this move gets faded back into that range. Buyers need to hold that range upon test, and then we can kind of start this. I'm still going to call it a bear market rally
Sure.
until there's something more significant. But I think we're kind of right at that spot. So Monday presents an interesting, sort of conundrum is we're opening imbalance in range to Friday's, continuation. And buyers need to kind of step on the gas and create that separation, that new day of imbalance. And again, like that clear break from this larger accumulation zone. If they don't, I think we're at jeopardy of coming back and maybe testing this range, building a base in this area. In NQ, you could call it like, like 11.5-ish to 11.7, 11.6, something to 11.7. And then we sort of make a strong move away from this accumulation zone and then ultimately come back and back test it. So As far as event contracts, it offers kind of a really cool opportunity today because it's a little bit of really this screams like intraday day trading type setup for me today. Because if they make the move, I can jump on it. But if they kind of linger around and they start to build this balance, it's not necessarily an A+ type setup day for me. As they just sort of like build this base here. But with the event contracts, you can kind of create a thesis around that to start with. So, I mean, if we were to look at NQ, we could maybe do something where, we look at a couple of key strikes and we just say, hey, we want to be kind of in the middle of this zone. So that 11-8 strike, I think, will be obviously we're opening kind of at or near it, but Friday's high delta point was right in that area. It was 11-830. And I think any strong move above that, you can kind of go with that. So again, like being bullish, I think above 11-830 or 11-8 as the strike makes a lot of sense. And then
now,
if we break,
Fleri, when we're in a bit of an awkward situation here because you and I are in, a little bit of a battle on who's going to win this small account challenge, and I also think I'm going to take your plays. Are we going to be making the same plays today?
I will take the same plays. If whatever you take, I'll take. That way we can call it like a net neutral here today. But
all right, tell me exactly, please, what to do.
Exactly what to do. Yeah. So I mean, again, above 11-8, I think is a strong play. Looking for the bullish continuation of this move. And again, at the very least, I think we get an opportunity to challenge that Friday high delta point and come up and sort of try to fill that weekly Sunday go back to gap down. 950 is not like the greatest price, but for the sake of kind of just getting in on the thesis, and again, like avoiding some of the chop on the open, this event contracts offer a cool way to do that. So I'll take the 11-8 yes on this. And then if we break down, I would also look to sort of like counteract that potential fade below. Let's see, what do we have here? What do we have like around 11,568? Do we have like an 11,5? 11,5. Yeah, so you could even if we can get like the 11,7 no at some juncture and kind of play the outsides, almost like a short condor or something, that would be something that I would track throughout the day. So if we get like, I wouldn't take it now. No, but I would look to basically like hedge that out. And this is kind of a little bit of how I trade these is I like to trade the main thesis on the open, and I trade momentum and I trade trend. So if they don't sort of base this area or break out and they lose this, the likelihood of it going extremely far down is and retracing that move is much stronger. So then I would counteract that. So I'll shoot you a message if I take an 11-7 no, or even like the 11-5 no on a strong move to sort of hedge that 11-8 yes, I'll let you know. But that would be how I would sort of look at that there.
To get maybe a little bit of audience participation, it does look like we have my friend Pax in the audience. Pax, if you want to give me an ES yes or no, we're here. You might as well. If you just want to type it right in chat, I'll take it live on air. Love to have it.
I bet Pax would love to see a OR high breakout.
I mean, I feel like
it's interesting because ES is set to open right above or right below like a huge psych level too. I mean, ES opening right below 4,000. It's kind of hit or miss, and that's why I say it's like a day trader's open kind of today. Is you really just kind of have to gauge what's going to happen. Telling you where it's going to close is probably much harder than jumping in and trading this market today. But I think ES, you want to see that momentum out of the open, and you want to see them just rip through 4,000. Typically on these psych levels, that's not the case, but it has been tested multiple times. So typically what you see on these psych level tests is they'll move through it a little bit. They'll catch the momentum traders, and then they'll rip stops of all these momentum traders, and then they'll go back and make the move. And so since they've kind of pre-tested this 4,000 level a few times in RTH, in Sunday Globex, and they've already had that fail, again, I like just leaning into the bullish case if we have to on a pick here. and again, like for day trading, sure, get in there and trade the flow and trade with the momentum as it shifts. But I like leaning into the bullish case here and breaking through that 4,000 level in ES. Looks like PAX just agrees. Yeah, if we get above 405, then we can get a 499. Yeah, and I think if you look at the confluence to NQ as well, NQ needs to get to that 12K psych. And so, you've got this sort of like kind of one hand helping the other thing where ES breaks 4,000 psych, 4,000 psych, and NQ is carrying it up to 12,000. And we just get like another day of imbalance. And I'd like to see a good, strong, like 3 or 4 days of basing sort of above or at 4,000 for ES, and then, near-ish, like call it 11,850 to 12,000 or even higher for NQ. We can take a look at CL. CL's a Leroy down today. Let's see, how did it open? Where do we have for CL strike? So we have continuation Leroy down, and CL, just from a trend perspective, just they traded below the 4-hour move to the high. So we're very much in sort of like momentum lower. The Leroy down, we want to be short below 87.91. So what do we have? We've got 87 for $6. I like that.
All right.
See if we can get that continuation lower. All right, so I'll get in there with you on that one. Let's see, what else do we have just kind of in general? Gold's a Leroy down, which is interesting. And they're already trading towards the top of the range. What do we have for gold strikes?
Fleri, for those of us in the audience who may not be exactly familiar with what a Leroy is, you want to hit us with a quick 1-minute explanation?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's simply a momentum strategy. So what I do is I track the high delta from all 3 sessions that the futures markets trade. So you have the cash session, RTH, you have the Asia session, and then you have the Europe session or the Euro session. I take the high delta from each of those sessions and I simply look for a 1 time framing. So if it goes RTH, Asia, Euro, 1 time framing lower, I look to trade with that momentum. So if the large market participants that are able to create this high delta are all stair stepping lower, so am I. If they're stair stepping higher, so am I. And so it's just simply a momentum play. And we see that momentum in CL. We see it actually in gold here as well. Okay, so the top of the range is 1770. The bottom of the range is 1757. Maybe we split it and we take a no and trade the momentum. 1760 no. Cool. Just see if old Leroy can at least give us a double up on that. I'd probably look to cover that somewhere near $10 or something like that. There we go. Cool. So we got a couple of good picks. I got them jotted down.
Just for my personal interest in copper. It doesn't matter if
So copper is a wide Leroy today. So that continuation is very, very spread out, which means that actually it's the move from the Asia session to the Europe session is very extended. And so typically with these extended or wide range Leroys, I look to trade them similar to a balance. And so the range of this would be 3.925 and 3.825. So we want to kind of park it somewhere in the middle. And typically what you see is sort of like a journey back and forth between the zones. So I would probably be looking to take a yes closer to like the 3.91-ish area.
All right.
And then just see if we can get a traverse of this range from overnight. And it's cheap, right? So even if we get close, if we get close to it, again, I'd probably look to cover. I'd probably buy a handful, and I'd look to cover, some on the way up. So we would be looking for almost like a destination trade here.
It's a $30 trade, like
with a $600 upside if it just decides to go.
I mean, like. Yes, I want to take that trade.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I don't do a bunch of TA on copper, but I mean, it's a relatively high and tight-ish pattern. It's broken out, it's based, and if it wants to go break that high, it's got plenty of range. So
Well, I wanted to say we're getting toward the end of the show, and we do have a lot of, I'm a stock trader, equities trader. So I did want to mention that we have a lot of earnings this week, a lot of retail earnings, and a lot of things you've heard of. We've got Tyson Foods today, Walmart, Home Depot, Target, Lowe's, Macy's, Kohl's, all reporting this week, which I think is so interesting. It's like before the big Thanksgiving sales, we're going to go ahead and do our earnings. But I love earnings. I think it's such an interesting kind of aspect to the market. So I just wanted to get all those on your radar.
I'm not a big stock trader. It's something that I track, like the big ones, right? Obviously track a lot of tech and things like that. But I mean, I think in this current market, if you're not hyper aware of anything that's got data tied to it, you're definitely leaving a little bit on the table. Whether or not you're diving into like super ultra deep, like macro type analysis, I think just being aware that there's all of that stuff, because the markets are moving based upon, data prints that typically would have been like, oh, maybe the book gets a little thin, and it's like 10 or 15 seconds, and then we settle, and the rest of the day carries on. Now it's like really just anything from a Twitter comment can sort of spark moves. And I mean, we're seeing crypto exchange failures being catalysts for large moves and in the indices. So I mean, it's just it's an interesting time, and I think to your point, that stuff is super important to keep track of, whether it's earnings from stocks or data prints from the normal sources. But
speaking of that, I don't want to get into politics. However, it does seem as though Trump might announce his candidacy this week. And like, if I have learned one thing as a COVID trader, it's that Trump news can move the market. So if I was out there trading, I would have an eye for that, because I do think we'll see some kind of move. I don't know if it's to the upside, to the downside, not for me to say, but I would think it would affect the market somehow.
How do we, who's the right account to set notifications for? Because he's off of Twitter, right? They kicked him off or whatever.
Twitter.
But
Yeah.
who do you set notifications for so that you can get that as quick as possible? Because that's the one where like you better hope you have
who is the Twitter that does all the news? Michael
something. Yeah, like Walter Bloomberg or something.
Yes.
He's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I have his tweets turned on. So I think Twitter is the fastest way to learn something. So hopefully it'll pop up on my phone when that happens, and I can safely exit my
I was going to say,
if I want to do
sidelines. That's a sidelines event for me too.
Exactly. It's like CPI, earnings, job numbers, everything rolled into one. And I do not want to be in the market during that time. So I will just
me neither.
Exit.
I'm just looking to see how like you mentioned stocks, I'm seeing how they're doing pre-market here. Neutral-ish open. Okay. Apple's kind of in that same setup too, which is, I mean, obviously what you would expect, right? This multi-day imbalance, but some key levels for Apple: 149.50, 143.70, somewhere in that range. Again, like it's one day when we get there, right? We'll be taking yes and no's in Apple. That'd be kind of fun.
Totally.
I like it.
Well, guys, this has been such a good show. I wish you all a great week, and please do make sure that you like and subscribe below, and go to placeyourtrades.com and download the Trade Evade app today. You can start trading these event contracts.
Yeah, they're just a fun way. I mean, honestly, like days like today, I think is a good example. Like it's going to be, well, we get the open here in a couple minutes. It's going to be a day trader's day. This open could be either a chop fest or very directional. And so to be able to come in, like you said, like have like a $30 with a $600 reward trade coming into copper, which did about 3 minutes of technical analysis on copper. But I think it's just it offers a fun way. A lot of times I'll besides our friendly competition here, a lot of times I'll use it as just kind of like I either made or lost my points for the day. I'm done. And, it keeps me sort of engaged in the market and testing my theses out as the day kind of evolves. to your point, with like a, if you choose to, a relatively small risk, but still some skin in the game. So I've just really had a great time kind of one, testing advanced strategies, and two, just like, keeping myself mainly out of a little bit of trouble throughout the rest of the day. And hopefully kicking your butt in this contest. You got PAX on your side, which is a pretty tough fade. So
I mean,
trust me, I think you've seen me in the
sorry,
shows.
not
I
sorry.
watch, so I have to start copying some of these trades if I want to keep up on Fridays. So capital
Well,
preservation, I need to follow the trades, otherwise I'm gonna be too far behind.
So I have to tell you that my day trading account was red on Friday, and I actually did not go back and look at my event contracts account at the end of the day on Friday. I was very busy, and I opened it up this morning, and I think I made about $250 off taxes, calls from the show Friday morning. So thank you, PAX.
Well done. I might have to just eat my humble pie here and admit defeat, but we'll see. At least today's going to be a tie. We know that much.
Absolutely. All right. Well, have a great day, Fleri. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. You too, Penny. Anytime. Take care, everybody.
Bye.